All right, this is Paul Schern with Impact DataSource, and I'm going to talk about the new features that we just released here in June 2019 for Impact Dashboard. I'm going to give you a bullet point list, and then we'll go through them relatively quickly, but there'll be more information available for you online and certainly on one-on-one demos if you'd like. The first new feature that we've got going is a community-wide summary report. Typically, those one-page infographic reports focus on just a single district, but here we're going to be able to kind of aggregate multiple districts into a single summary, a one-page summary report. Next up, we've got a new public support option here talking about sales tax rebates on capital investment related expenditures. So essentially for materials and either machinery and equipment. So there's going to be some construction materials purchase. We can rebate some sales taxes on that in the model now. And then another item in the public support section is an incentive kind of on behalf of multiple districts. That one's kind of complicated, but we'll take a look at it here. And then finally, we've got a new feature around the ability to look at calendar years versus you just calling it year 1, year 2, and year 3. And so if we jump to the report real quick, we'll take a look at that first one for community-wide summary report. Right now we're looking at a summary report for this project from the perspective of the city. We can also click here, see for the county and so forth. But really what the new feature is right here with community report. And this is where we can configure a report to show us the impact across all of the districts included in the model or just some subset. So right now we can see this is showing us net benefits of about $9.5 million. This is the net benefits to all of the districts included in my report. I've got a city, a county, a school district, and then these other districts, we actually have 2 different entities in there. We've got a college and a hospital. And so we're able to fit all of this on one page, just like you see. We can configure this, and let's say that we really only wanted to show a summary report that aggregates the city and the county. Well, if I click here, we can do that by just deselecting these other districts. Now, if we wanted to add them back, it's just as easy as selecting them from that drop down to get them back in there. But let's just go with the city and the county. That's going to show us about $4.7 million in benefits, or net benefits, excuse me. We can print this off. It's a one-pager just like those others. So this is a really cool feature that will hopefully be helpful for you, and kind of a little bit of a bridge between that detailed report that's going to print out to maybe 10 to 15 pages, but it'll have all of the detail on those districts. So next up, we've got a sales tax rebate for capital investment. So to look at that, we can go here. We have on the public support page, we have a new section here that we can see capital investment, sales tax, and then we can choose again our language, whether we want it to be an abatement, an exemption, or a rebate, whatever kind of is most appropriate. And what it's asking us is to identify the percent of sales tax rebated on the project's initial purchases of construction materials and furniture, fixtures, and equipment. So again, this is related to the capital investments that are being made and whether or not some of that, say, construction materials would be subject to sales tax and then rebated potentially. And same thing with the FF&E purchases. If some of that might be subject to sales tax, and then if you decide to rebate portions of that. There's some parameters, obviously in the settings area. If we click on the setting, we can get in and configure how much of the investment is for materials, how much is subject to local tax, all those sorts of things. I'm not going to get into that right now. But what we can see here is in year 1, we're collecting $280,000. If we just said, let's rebate all of this construction materials sales tax, we can see that's going to be $175,000. We're still picking up $105,000 on the furniture, fixtures, and equipment. Sales taxes on those. We can rebate those as well. Now you'll notice that this graph, it looks a little funny because the only thing that's happening is here in year 1. That's where I only needed to put in the schedule in year 1. And this is just related to the fact that we only have capital investment entered in year 1. If we had capital investment in multiple years, obviously this graph would look a little bit different. So that's our sales tax rebate for capital investment related expenditures. Next up, we want to take a look at this incentive that we can do from the perspective of multiple districts. So here on the public support tab, we've got a new section that is for the community non-tax incentive. So if I click on that, I've got this area where I can look at a community non-tax incentive. First thing I'm going to be asked to do is select the participating district. So this is the idea that, let's say the city and the county are going in on an incentive together, And we just want to model the total amount and compare that to get the ROI, again, on behalf of both the city and the county. So if we do that, let's put our city in here. Let's choose them. And what that happens, if you see that orange line jumps up, that's the net benefits to the city of Arlington. If we add the county, now this line jumps up even further, and that's to include the county as well. So what do we want to model here? Let's put in $1 million incentive. And this is an investment being made by the city and the county. We're going to compare that investment to the return that the city and the county combined together receive. And so that's this, whatever it is, over $4 million over 10 years. We can see our payback period is right here where it intersects the reference line of the total incentive and the net benefits. That's 3 years. So we've got a 3-year payback period on this $1 million incentive. Now, that's pretty cool. You can go to the reports, you'll print out, you'll be able to see the analysis of this $1 million incentive from the city and the county getting paid back in 3 years. Now, the next step of things that you might want to do would be to allocate this $1 million between the city and the county. And so the most obvious might be just to split it, say 50-50. And so if we do that, here on our allocation, we have a couple different options to do that. If we click on it, we can see we've got an equal share, proportional net benefits, and then a custom. In the case of equal share, obviously, if there's 2 districts, it's just going to be split in half, 50-50. And as we do that, it's $500,000 for the city, $500,000 for the county, because again, it was a total of $1 million. And then we can run our numbers, and we can see that, for example, the city will get paid back in 2.4 years, whereas the county won't get paid back until 3.8 years. And so, again, across both districts combined there, it's a 3-year payback period, but it's a little bit shorter in this case for the city. The city receives a little bit higher net benefits over this project. If we want to see that, we can scroll down and we can see a $500,000 incentive mapped against the city's net benefits, giving us that 2.4-year payback period that we see here. We scroll down a little further, we can see the county's $500,000 incentive that they're chipping in. And that's a 3.8-year payback period that we just talked about, looking at it from the perspective of their net benefits. Now, you don't have to do this as an equal share, so 50-50, or maybe we could do it proportional to net benefits. This one is going to change this percentage to be equal to what each district receives from the project. So essentially, the city of Arlington is receiving about 67%, or excuse me, of the combined net benefits between the city and the county. The city makes up 67% of that. And so when we do this one, this is just going to equalize our rate of return. And we can also see that our payback periods change to reflect that equalized rate of return. The other option we have is over a custom split. So we might do 80% is being contributed by the city and 20% by the county, something like that. And we can see again, our calculations will update and adjust. Cool thing with this, again, it pairs up well with our community report. So again, I'm doing I've included the city and the county here in this community report. And those are also my districts that I had in that community incentive. So if I scroll down here, I can see that's still our 3-year payback period. But when I allocate 800,000 of that $1 million, that's a 3.7-year payback period that we saw, and a 1.9-year payback period for the county. So all of this is going to get worked through the rest of the report as well. So for example, if we go to our detailed report and we go to that public support section, we can see our total in incentive in this project being about 3.3 million. And here's our analysis of that $1 million community non-tax incentive. So lots of stuff going on here with this report. We'll have some other information for you on it, but just want to show a real quick overview of it. The final thing that we want to touch on is this idea around calendar years. So if I click on this scenario, I have calendar years enabled, and you'll be able to see that we can actually specify a calendar year for a particular project. Here it is. We can see on this the input. We can time our inputs based on the year. So essentially, we've got 2019 as our starting year, and so we can stretch that out. That's 10 years. Right there. If we wanted to say, actually, we want our first year, the starting year, to be 2020, for example, if you still want 10 years, but you're not going to start till 2020, we can go into our settings and we'll be able to modify that input here. by identifying the starting year. This is something that needs to be enabled, so if you want to do this, just let me know and we can put it in there. We don't show calendar years across the bottom. I think it's still helpful to know how many years are going out, and we don't really have the space to be showing 4 years. But those are the new features that we've just added. We've got a list of other features we're working on. We should be releasing those hopefully in the fall or sometimes later this year. But please give us any feedback that you have, and thanks again for watching.